I know that for a lot of you watching this video, the full unveiling of the Galaxy Z Fold 7 was a bit of a bittersweet affair, because with that unveiling, we got confirmation of something that seemed to many of us to be something that would have been impossible. The Z Fold 7 does not have a compatible S Pen. Now, for months, we had expected something to happen regarding that pen, because for months, the rumor and speculation had been that Samsung was removing the S Pen digitizer from the Z Fold 7, just like they did with the Z Fold SE, to make the device thinner. Now, with the SE, there was no compatible S Pen because there was no digitizer. But there had been reporting that Samsung was partnering with another company to make an active stylus, something more in line with what Apple uses with their pencil. This pen would have a battery that was allowing the pen to create the sufficient electrostatic field, allowing the pen to function on the Z Fold 7. We had reports coming from fairly reputable tech leakers at the time, like Panda Flash Pro. Even big YouTubers like Tech Talk TV were talking about how the Fold 7 would have an active stylus, but then it came out, and that just wasn't the case. The stylus isn't there. So the big question then is, what exactly happened? Why is there not a pen when there are all of these rumors? My hypothesis, and it is a hypothesis, is that Samsung was absolutely working on this active stylus technology, and that they are still working on it. I think that they intended to have it ready for the Fold 7, and it just was not up to their standards, so they shipped it without it. And I think we have some good reason to think this. I've put together an article over on ShaneCraig.tech where I talk about everything I've pretty much just said, and now we're going to move on to this next bit here, which you can see is titled "The S Pen's Return." There's a lot here. So, in an interview with ET News, Samsung's Executive Director of Electronics MX Business Division talked about the S Pen's absence, I think for the first time ever, directly. He said the Fold 7 emphasized that consumers want a thin and light product. Please think of it as a trade-off where you lose one if you choose one. Now, that does make it sound like they just said, well, we wanted to go thin, so we got rid of the S Pen. But I don't think that's exactly what happened. We are also researching and developing thinner and innovative technologies for the S Pen. So they are working on this type of thing, something that allows the device to be thinner, I think is what he's getting at. Not that the pen needs to be thinner, because good Lord, it doesn't need to be any thinner. Thinner and innovative technologies for the S Pen. We will reconsider it when the level of perfection increases. Well, let's kind of use our brains here. If they're hoping for the level of perfection to increase, that means that at current time, this new technology, the level of perfection is lower. And I would imagine, lower than their standards, too low for them to want to ship this. If they're able to get the technology correct, up to their standards, and the demand remains high, I think I see this right here, yes, there is consumer demand, and if we look at this poll that I ran about a week ago with almost 1,000 votes, Z Fold users, do you use an S Pen on your Fold? Hey, 24% of people said they were using it daily. Another 17% said they were using it weekly. I think that is still fairly significant. So it would probably behoove Samsung to continue working on this technology and get it to a place where they could eventually ship it. Now, something that's actually really interesting here is that in theory, if they did finish this technology, they did make that S Pen that's an active stylus, there's nothing about the current Z Fold 7 that would preclude it from being compatible, right? It doesn't need a digitizer. All it would need is the software update to allow that type of thing to work. The pen's the hardware. You could buy that separately. I don't think this is going to happen. But in theory, they could literally introduce a Fold 7 S Pen down the line and sell it to you later on. I don't think that's going to happen, because it would just be, I think it's too easy for Samsung to market the Z Fold 8 as, having the S Pen again to try to sell you the Z Fold 8. But there's no reason why, as far as I'm aware, they couldn't sell it to you for the 7. At any rate, guys, I think that's kind of the situation. I think that they were working on the pen for the 7. It did not reach their required level of perfection. I think that's kind of a funny word. Obviously, that was being translated to English, so it's probably a bit of an awkward wording, but it didn't reach their standards. So they didn't ship it. They're continuing to work on it. And if demand remains high and the pen reaches a good level for them, you'll probably see it again. Obviously, they're not just going to come straight out and say, hey, yeah, with the Z Fold 8, we'll definitely bring the pen back. They have to leave it a little bit murky for about a million different reasons. The two most obvious ones are, one, they don't want to kneecap the sales of the Fold 7, and two, they don't want to say something that then, something comes up and then they have to go back on their word later on. There's a lot of reasons why they're going to keep that wording a little bit murky. But guys, I want to know what you think about this in those comments down below. Does this all kind of make a bit more sense now? Do you think that we'll see the pen again? Like I said, have some conversation in those comments down below. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more content like this. And until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.